Wherever you are on your journey, I'm so glad you found your way here. I spent years striving to be better, to feel better, to achieve and accomplish as much as I could with the time I had in each day. I was a self-help junkie, to the point where any spare time I had was filled with listening to a self-help podcast, reading a self-help book, or joining a self-help community for coaching and guidance. I am genuinely grateful for the time I spent developing through self-improvement, and there is no shortage of resources that can take you really, really far on that path. One of the biggest lessons I learned over the course of 8 years, dedicated almost entirely to self-improvement, was an awareness around my thoughts. Whether it was my limiting beliefs, insecurities, projections, lack of confidence, or subconscious viewpoints, it became increasingly evident that the quality of my life was not determined by my circumstances, but by my thoughts. With time, I learned how to challenge my own perspective and, with awareness, create more intentional thoughts instead. Self-development helped me work through a lot of this, but there was still something missing. What I began to realize was that my internal experience of life and my external experience of life were two completely different things, and one was driving the other, just not the one I thought. For years, I believed my external experience would eventually change how I felt internally. If I had more money, more time, more friends, more respect from others, more accolades, more experiences, more of anything, then I would finally feel at peace inside. I thought I would feel fulfilled, happy, and anchored in a deep sense of purpose and meaning. Yet, as I built what many would call a successful life in business over the past decade, the opposite became impossible to ignore. The more I had externally, the worse I felt internally. All along, it was my internal experience that needed to change first. It wasn't the more that was going to give me what I was searching for. It was an inside-out job. The quality of my life was determined by what was going on inside of me, the way I viewed the world, the lens through which I saw myself in my life, and how I interpreted situations and the people around me. My perspective. As I became more aware of my thoughts, I could clearly see how much my own lens was getting in my own way. I used to believe my circumstances created my feelings, which then created my thoughts, but I couldn't have been more wrong. My thoughts were creating my feelings, which were creating my circumstances. So, knowing that, you would think it was as simple as changing my thoughts, right? To some degree it was. I spent almost a decade intentionally deciding what I wanted to think and seeking perspective from all sorts of other people. The freedom to choose my perspective and shape my thoughts was attractive, and it yielded real, measurable results. Still, something felt incomplete. Am I really the one who is supposed to be in charge here? I have always tended to be a bit of a rule follower, and I couldn't wrap my mind around a reality where everything was simply up to our own interpretation. If there is no truth, no moral grounding, how are we supposed to decide what is right and wrong? Do we really just get to pick whatever we want? That idea never sat well with me. I've always believed in a higher power. I don't believe we were placed in this life to serve only ourselves, our desires, and our agendas. If that were true, then achieving everything I thought I wanted on the outside would have made me feel complete, but it didn't. Maybe you don't have a relationship with God right now, and that's okay. Let me put it this way. Do you have a quiet voice inside you that tells you right from wrong? Do you agree that it's wrong to hurt others, to steal, to cheat, or to kill? Those examples are extreme, but they matter. Because if there is no God, who determines what is right and wrong? Who decides when it is justified to hurt others, to take from others, or to act purely in self-interest? If everything is left to our own perspective, the world quickly becomes a very dangerous place. Without God, we are left in ambiguity. That is when I realized what had been missing all along. The missing piece was God. That's why I don't just believe there is immense power in perspective alone. I believe there is profound importance in where we get that perspective from. Without God, we can challenge every perspective. Without God, we create the rules. Without God, we are limited by our subconscious thoughts and the voices, noise, and opinions of others. I don't want to build a life with myself at the center, my wants, my desires, my own interests in the driver's seat of everything I do. I want to build a life with Him at the center and allow my thoughts and behaviors to be shaped around that. A life with Him at the center is a life rooted in love. A life rooted in love is no longer about serving myself, but about loving God and loving others, something that feels increasingly countercultural in a world so focused on the self. I know now more than ever that God's perspective is the perspective I want to build my life around. I no longer place my hope in my circumstances, but in my God. I deeply believe my purpose in this lifetime is not to get everything I want so that I finally feel fulfilled, good enough, or satisfied, but instead to surrender what I want to the plans, purpose, and the will He has for my life. When I align myself with His will, I experience a kind of peace the world cannot give and cannot take away. His perspective is the ultimate truth, not my truth, but His. My words may not hold much weight with you yet, and that's okay, but I can promise you that if you stay open, remain curious, and allow God the space to reveal Himself to you, you will begin to see and feel this truth for yourself. This may resonate deeply with you right now, or it may not resonate at all. Either way, I am truly glad you found your way here. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe God has you reading these words for a reason. As we journey together, my hope is to be vulnerable enough in sharing how He is working in me that it encourages and speaks to you too. I hope my stories, reflections, and honesty can be a vessel God uses to show you that when you stay connected to Him as your source, rather than your own desires or what the world tells you, you can experience the love, grace, truth, and peace only He can offer. Even now, I am still learning the difference between managing my life and surrendering it. By allowing Him to challenge my perspective, I continue to grow closer to His image, and in doing so, I found a sense of fulfillment that nothing else has ever given me. Do you want to live a life with yourself at the center, or do you feel called to a greater purpose, one bigger than just you? How we see determines how we live, and who we look to determines how we see. I am deeply grateful for the power that comes from looking above to His perspective. Let's walk this journey together, seeking a higher one. With love, Godly Girl.